partner of the ISEG Foundation today to deliver his special address on making MMR a global economic growth engine. May I now request Dr. Sankhe to kindly come on to the dais.
Okay, thank you for inviting me here. I'm Shirish Sankhe, as already introduced. Currently, I'm working with what we call ISEG Foundation, Institute for Sustainability, Employment and Growth, which was incubated by several stakeholders, including McKinsey & Company, Gates Foundation, Godrej Foundations, and others. So therefore, this is a brand new institution, but working on economic growth, job creation, and net zero transition of India. And our logo is down there, but this report was in, we were the knowledge partner for Niti Aayog and Government of Maharashtra to create this particular report. It's in public domain. It should be out there if you need, any of you need the full report and have the patience to read it, even though it's not that long, but have the patience to read through, it's available, right? So I'll go through around 15-20 pages, and you would not, I mean, while Mumbai is the key word, but this particular report and presentation is focused on Mumbai metropolitan region. Why is that? Because actually Mumbai, just to think of Mumbai as Greater Mumbai, of course, is important, but with all the infrastructure that is coming, including the new airport that is happening across the Atal Setu and so on, you have to think about it as a Mumbai metropolitan region because that will be closely connected. So therefore, this talks about Mumbai metropolitan region as a global hub. The good news is that this was the first city region to complete the economic master plan under the Niti Aayog Growth Hub program, which by the way also has become now Government of India scheme as announced by the Honorable Finance Minister in the last budget, right? So it's Mumbai metropolitan region as a tier 1 city, Visakhapatnam, Surat, and Varanasi Prayagraj region, different tiers of cities and how to think about economic master planning. We also coined a word called economic master planning because most of us are familiar with master planning, but most of it is physical and land use master planning, but it has to be done, economic master planning has to be done before physical master planning. But it's not just economy and investment, as you will see in this particular page, it's also the quality of life and inclusivity and sustainability. So the theme for this, as you have seen, which is also focused on sustainable cities, is very consistent with this particular master planning approach, right? So it's an important one, but the three pillars of this are quite important, right? The report was released officially on September 12th, 2024 by the Honorable CM, DCMs, and Dr. Klaus Schwab, who is the World Economic Forum founder, was also there, and the CEO of Niti Aayog as well as Chief Secretary of Maharashtra were present there. Now, what is MMR, right? MMR is 140 billion. I know there are lots of numbers floating around. Mr. Gagrani is here, so let me wait for 30 seconds before he takes a seat. Hi, hello. Yeah, so extended MMR is a 140 billion economy across 5 districts covering 9 municipal corporations, of course Greater Mumbai being the largest. Current population of around 26 million, right, which is 20% of Maharashtra. Land area is around 2.8% of Maharashtra. GDP is 140 billion, which is around 31% of Maharashtra, 1/3 approximately. 5,200 GDP per capita for the whole MMR region. And then jobs of around 10 million, right? Remember that historically MMR grew only at 6.1%. I'm saying only because, you know, a region like this you will expect to grow faster, but against Maharashtra at 5.8 and India at 6.6, right? So therefore the key aspirations are quite, I would say, dramatic, right, and aspirational. Not easy to do, but it's important that we put the key aspiration consistent with the 30 trillion economy target that India has put on itself for 2047, right? So this is for 2030, 140 billion economy to 300 billion, that requires a 9 to 10% real growth rate, which is not easy to do. Only a couple of countries in the world or regions have done these type of growth rates in real terms, not in nominal terms, and 1.5 trillion economy by 2047. On 3 million jobs addition, which is quite important for the economy as well as for the state, and GDP per capita moving to around $10,000 to $11,000 and moving to all the way to $38,000, right? So that is the type of aspirations, quite, I will say, very aspirational, but at the same time, therefore, you need to think through what needs to be done, and many things need to be done differently, because if you do business as usual, then you will grow at 6%, right? Which is what will happen. Now, many people were talking about how Mumbai is getting crowded and so on, which is true, but on a longer term basis, in fact, Greater Mumbai's population will not move too much. It will move from 13 million to 13.7 million. So the population of Greater Mumbai will stay flat, even though the region as a whole will move to around 36 to 38 million from around 25 million today. So most of that population growth will happen actually in the other parts of MMR. However, a lot of economic growth will still happen in Greater Mumbai, right? So therefore, Mumbai's contribution to GDP will move from just 60% to 55%, even though the population will drop from 50% to 36% of the whole region. That's important to understand. Of course, we do think Mumbai is getting crowded, but the overall population will go up only by 1 million, at least in these type of projections that we have done. In this time frame, now I'm talking about 2030, 3.5 million people are expected to join the workforce, right? And as you know that even the female participation in labor force is particularly down. This is true for whole of India, right? So in MMR region is 36%, so we have also taken 38 to 40% target for female participation, which means creating another 1 million jobs for women. Okay, so out of the 3 million jobs, 1 million jobs have to be created for women, in the sense that women have to participate more on in the workforce. Now the good news, and I know we are going to talk about infrastructure, but frankly, we found that a big leap, and thanks to people like Mr. Gagrani, all the officers plus the ministers in the last 10 years, right? The good news is that on the infrastructure front, especially transport infrastructure front, a big leap has already been made. Okay, it's a positive growth trajectory. When we counted the amount of money that was spent in the last 8-10 years or going to be spent is around $50 billion, which is at least 5x of any similar period historically, right? And you know these projects, but I'll just mention there's a 417 kilometers of metro rail that is coming up, right? Then the Vadodara-Mumbai Expressway is a big one that is coming up under construction. Navi Mumbai International Airport under construction should come together, right? The sea links and the coastal roads, of course, all of you are using, and I'm sure that's the thing. High-speed rail, the bullet train from Mumbai to Ahmedabad. Samruddhi Corridor, which connects Mumbai-Nagpur, is already complete, right? All the sea links, including Versova, Bandra, and the future, the sea links going forward are there, right? As well as the MTHL link, which is the Atal Setu. In addition, the Vadhavan port has already been announced. In fact, it got announced while we were doing the project, which is the one of the deepest ports in India, and will create a substantial logistics activity in MMR region, right? So therefore, we found that while of course more money has to be spent on infrastructure, especially water and sewage, I will give pretty high marks on transportation infrastructure, especially in the last 10 years, right? So that's the good news. Now we can build on the back of that a substantial growth story for MMR region. In fact, my sense is MMR can really outperform any city region in India and perhaps in the world if we all get together and really put the type of economic drivers and the quality of life drivers and the sustainability drivers on the back of this large investment. We already know what are the endowments of the MMR region. I won't go through that, but it's India's financial capital. It's a large cosmopolitan center. It has a 300 kilometers of coastline. You'll see that reflected in the growth driver. It's a historically significant region. It's an entertainment capital. Now it has 2 airports and so on. Also, it's actually a large manufacturing hub if you look at this thing, even though Mumbai itself is not. So we also, I wouldn't take you through the next chart, but we also look through a whole set of benchmarks. I wouldn't take you through that, but it's like water availability in a metro network, slums, open spaces, electrified, on sustainability, electrification of buses, the renewable consumption, water demand with recycled water and so on, and put some targets and benchmarks on it, on which then we put together these 7 growth drivers, okay. And those of you who have looked through the report are probably familiar with these 7 economic growth drivers, okay. And I will not speak here, I will take you through growth driver by growth driver, but as a whole, it's a GDP increase of 150 billion, which is also again dramatic. There's such large numbers. And we are, of course, put the target by 2030, but even if a couple of years here and there, I think it's a dramatic increase in GDP, right? Because doubling, as you said, on the GDP itself, and another 3 million, which is 30 lakh jobs. So I'll take you through very briefly these growth drivers, and it's important. Some of them we are already doing well, some of them we are not, right? So therefore, thinking this through is quite important. The growth driver 1 is on one level obvious, but we are not saying just financial services. We are saying a global services hub. Okay, financial services, of course, it's there. It's 20% of India's finance services market. We should maintain that, maybe slightly increase it. On top of that, new age services like AI, fintech, we are putting it as a major higher education hub. Okay, it's not there currently. Yes, we have good higher education institution, but can we move it to a real higher education hub like Boston, right? A global aviation hub. Do you know with the new airport, we'll have 150 million passengers per year. Okay, that's the largest airport probably system in the world, almost like Dubai, right? That is 150 million passengers per year. So around that, a whole set of things, right? MICE, tourism, and so on can be built, and of course, aviation services. Media, Bollywood, entertainment, I think should go 2x. Global capability center, our share is 10%, needs to move to at least 15. Bangalore has 1/3 share already, right? And data centers, this can be one of the top 3 data center hubs in the world, right? Like Virginia, right? So there's a whole set of things. For example, we can have a 5 gigawatt worth of data centers, right? Which is will be again the largest in the world. With that, there will be a $50 billion GDP impact and around 1 million jobs. Okay, so and this is again the Greater Mumbai plus MMR region. Pretty exciting. Can it be done? I'll talk about the specific projects, but to some extent, and I just give examples not to compare. Mumbai is not on one side comparable, but if you look at what Dubai was trying to do through the Knowledge Park, the International Financial Center, so it bring together systematic geographic hubs like the Bandra Kurla complex at one time for financial services, right? So on. So we can learn from global examples, including London and so on, and how to make this happen. I'll talk about the projects a little bit later, but the first growth driver is the services driver. Growth driver 2 is on one side obvious, and a lot of this actually is in Greater Mumbai area, which is affordable housing and slum redevelopment. Okay. On one side, this is of course a great social driver, but it's also a great growth driver, which is to say almost $20 billion GDP impact, GVA impact, and 0.3 to 0.5 million jobs. Okay, so it's a big one. Can we do it? 2.2 million slum households. Okay, and 0.2 million of those is around central government land. Very complex. This is one of the more difficult growth drivers we have seen, and it also requires the 15 times the current velocity of slum rehabilitation. So when I presented it to the Honorable Chief Minister and so on, I said this is quite difficult. But at the time they said no, we'll do it, right? So while it's 15x, right, it's one of the big drivers of both housing as well as economy. On top of that, we said that it's not just slum redevelopment. We need 1 million additional houses for talent attractions. You know, for example, in ISEG Foundation, the young people that come in, especially women, that come in Greater Mumbai to work, find it very difficult to get actually affordable and safe housing, right? And they really go from here to there, and many times rentals are denied and all that type of thing. You can't live, a global city cannot live with that type of what I call affordable housing type of thing. So affordable housing for talent attraction. So these are hostels, service apartments, this, that, not just LIG housing, right? And so on. So that's one push that we are beginning to make. Studio apartments and also industrial workers housing, right? So growth driver 2 is affordable housing, right? And as I already said, that this needs a 15x velocity. I wouldn't go through how many of these 2.2 million projects are financially attractive versus not attractive. So the business model has to come together, but it's a big growth driver, right? Growth driver 3 is something that we all dreamt about, but hasn't happened, okay, for Mumbai, which is, can we reposition Mumbai as a global tourism hub and a vibrant urban recreation hub? No other city, no other region with a 300 kilometers of coastline uses its coast so little, right? In fact, you are actively discouraged from using the coast, right, in multiple ways, right? Whereas every other city uses it quite well, but coast is just one example, right? So there's a whole set of tourism themes. Beach coastal cruise tourism is just one. MICE tourism, as I said, on the back of the airports. Nature tourism, Sanjay Gandhi National Park, the whole national park is right here, right? And flamingos are currently in the bay, right? Culture, heritage, food tourism, entertainment and film tourism, wellness and medical tourism, and so on, right? This can be big. It requires imagination. In fact, we found that this requires the lowest infrastructure spend, and actually, but it requires imagination and projects, including for the municipal corporation, as our discussion with Mr. Gagrani also suggested. Because currently, many of these growth drivers, many municipal corporations consider them to be outside the scope of outside the formal scope of this, and that needs to change. But overall, we need to think this through more systematically with infrastructure, real estate, and thinking through to make it a large global tourism hub. We have put, of course, some projects here: tourism development area, Mud Highland and Gorai, Alibag, 300 kilometers of coastline, tourism pressings, iconic projects including a Mumbai Eye, and many citizen tourist recreations like 3 central parks, which I think is happening, 15,000 hotels, and so on. But so overall, the third growth driver is tourism, right? Fourth growth driver, as you would expect, because of the 3 ports, at a port proximated integrated manufacturing and logistics hub. This is already India's largest logistics hub, by the way, port logistics, right? But it can become bigger, especially as Dighi and Vadhavan come together to north and south, right? So we have put the 7 value chains, including discrete manufacturing and so on, green hydrogen, circular economy, and 6 integrated port proximate industrial cities. Right. This, of course, again, it's we are calling it cities rather than industrial areas because they have to be thought at as cities. So this also has a $25 billion growth driver, GDP impact, and 0.6 million jobs. Right. I'll go through the 5, 6, 7 a little bit faster. So 5 is, and this will come a little bit later, is about what I call planned urbanization and planned development of business hubs. Okay. So we have put 19 business hub, 15 TOD systematic redevelopment, and 20 plus station redevelopment as one growth driver, okay, right? And we already talked about the tourism development hub. There are 7 business districts and 5 urban cities, which I'll show you on the map later. But this itself is a big growth driver, and India generally hasn't done planned urbanization. We call it haphazard urbanization, right? So can we do now a little bit more planned urbanization around the business hub? BKC was an attempt, Bandra Kurla complex was an attempt of planned urbanization, but unfortunately we didn't think through at that time what I call mass transit. So therefore we are paying the price of that. So our future business hub has to be very well connected with mass transit. One of these projects is actually, you will see, is the Mumbai Port Trust land. Okay, there is a huge expanse and the port is using only a small part of it. Okay, so similar to Canary Wharf in London, which has tourism services, housing and recreation, can this be done? Of course, this is a Government of India decision because Port Trust land belongs to Government of India, but at the same time, working together, center and state, this can be one of the 19 big business drivers, right? In addition to this, what I mean by planned urbanization is that we have introduced a concept called ALTAs. Okay, this is just a word, amenities for livability and talent attraction. Okay, this requires the last 10% of the investment, but normally doesn't get done. Right? This requires, of course, the green spaces. This is the water bodies, lake, riverfront, bicycle paths, sea-facing infrastructure, marinas, schools, hospitals, playground, complexes, cafe district, retail entertainment zones, and so on. Very small capital investment, but if done with imagination, can actually create a dramatic increase in quality of life. Okay, so we are introducing the concept of ALTA systematically in all planned urbanization. Growth driver 6 is a very relevant for this particular session, which is the sustainability and circularity leader. We are saying that 40% renewable consumption, 100% waste segregated. These are all by 2030. 30% water demand met by recycled water. Today industries, some of that is being used, but very little. 500,000 tons of green hydrogen, and 40% reduction in monthly peak air quality index, right? And women's participation in near net zero by 2047. So that's the sustainability driver. It doesn't have it has a good GDP impact, but it is not just for the sake of GDP. It is for the sake of quality of life and the future of our planet, right? And growth driver 7 is the infrastructure. I kept it as growth driver 7 because a lot has already been done on the connectivity infrastructure. There is some more last mile to be done, as somebody pointed out. Regional water and sewage infrastructure needs to be thought through. We found that 2000 MLD of water infrastructure will be short and 2500 MLD of sewage infrastructure will be short. Again, sustainability and ALTAs we already talked about. And in sustainability, we have waste to energy plant, biogas plant, plus, right, and EVs, etc., right. Now, your question will be, what is the overall impact of this? And this is just the physical footprint. So, this, if implemented, will have 3 million more affordable homes, 175 million square feet of office space, 15,000 additional hotel rooms, 30 new colleges and universities, 70 million square feet of A-grade warehousing space, 15,000 additional hospital beds, and 20,000 acres, 12,000 hectares of additional industrial area. Okay. So therefore, that's the overall impact. So it's quite massive. Okay. Something like this to get it done in 7 to 10 years, it's quite dramatic. So therefore, to convert the blueprint, the economic master plan into a real blueprint, we are sort of thought through with, of course, huge support and discussion with the government of Maharashtra officials. They converted into 30 projects, 8 policies and 9 institutional shift, and 180 to 190 billion dollars of additional investment. Out of that, 70% is by private sector. Numbers look huge, but I think doable, right? So the state government has to put the state government agencies has to put around another 40 billion in, and the private sector has to put another 135 billion. Central government around 11 to 13 billion. But this is sort of lined up to some extent. It's not like it's pie in the sky. It's partly lined up. That now the real thing is to attract the right private sector investment to get the 180, 190 billion dollars. So how does it look on the map, right? So I'll start with 3 large ports, Wadhwan, JNPT, Digi. Then around that and close to that, 6 industrial cities. I wouldn't take all the names, but some of them industrial, some of them logistics. So 3 large ports, 6 industrial cities. That's the side. Yeah, 4 major tourism hubs. Right, Gorai, MBPT, Alibag, Navi Mumbai, Aero City. 11 hubs. This is big because the champion services and affordable housing is a large growth driver, and you can read through it. I'll show you one more chart on this, so where things are coming up. So 11 hubs for 7 champion services and affordable housing, leading to sort of an all-round development of MMR. It's also geographically balanced from that perspective. One key component of that, which I think you are aware of, but there are 2 large greenfield cities, which has not, I mean, after Navi Mumbai has not been done. 2 large greenfield cities are being developed near the new airport. One of them is called New Harbour City. We are calling it Harbour City, but it's called MTHL Influence Area. And the other is called Naina, all between 230 to 320 square kilometers of planned business hub. That's our area. That's one of the other potentials, even though it takes 10 to 15 years to fully develop this. But this is 1 or 2 of the 30 projects that I talked about, and I showed them in the map as well. Would it get implemented? The good news is implementation kickoff has already happened. They have already set up this particular infrastructure, the governing body with the honorable CM and DCMs, and now the war room will also get operational, Chief Minister's war room. And below that, there's a whole systematic cascading architecture with 7 or 8 large agencies, including role for municipal corporations plus MMRDA, SIDCO, housing departments, and so on, right? So that's the implementation architecture. Am I hopeful? I think I am hopeful. I'll just give you a 30-second story that in 2005, we had published with McKinsey and Company and Mumbai First a report called Vision Mumbai. Okay, and recently I looked at what percentage of that got implemented, because it's always good to look back. And we found that 70-75% of the recommendation made have got implemented. Okay, so therefore that's a good track record for Maharashtra. We are not taking any credit. It was just a report with some help. So I'm hoping that in the next 5 to 7 years, a lot of this and more gets implemented, and we can see Mumbai as becoming a really global major economic hub. Thank you.
If anybody has any questions, a couple of quick questions, and then we can proceed.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, here.
Sorry. Hello.
I came to Mumbai 30 years back. I stay in near Sanjay Gandhi National Park. My office was in Cuff Parade. I used to drive. It used to take me 1.5 hours. Today it takes 3 hours. Mayor of London had come to Bombay some 20 years back and said that your whole strategy is faulty. The more roads you build, the more cars are going to come. There are a lot of cars waiting to come.
Yeah.
If you build roads, they will come and flood your, and that's what we did.
Yeah.
We did not invest in metro and public transport.
Yeah.
Today, what is the state of BEST? And BMC says that's their problem. No, it's not their problem. It's our problem. You have to subsidize public transportation.
Yeah.
You have to make metro connectivity. There should be, these are the two priorities. You can keep doing all kinds of things which you are doing now and spending crores of rupees, but the problem is not going to solve.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just to respond, I think public transportation has to be a 70-80% share. Roads are never really allowed. From that perspective, at least in my mind, the 430 kilometers of metro network, okay, out of that only 70 kilometers is operational, okay, so that's 6 times, okay, and all of that more or less coming on stream by 2030. Of course, that's still a few years away, right, but I think we can make a dramatic difference. And then, I hope so, yeah, and then the other thing is the buses. I completely agree. I think especially, we have calculated that 15,000 additional buses are required for the MMR region. And I'm sure that Mr. Gagrani will also talk about it. Yeah.
Good morning, Dr. Sankhe. Pleasure to listen to you. I worked with you 20 years back at Bombay First, part of the Vision Mumbai report. And I wouldn't agree with you on that 75% figure. In fact, I was going to bring it up as a question. I think it's less than 25%. And if you look at quality of life indicators, and those might be intangible, but they really benefit the economy in a big way. I mean, if you look at tourism, Goa, what is happening? People are just flying away to Thailand and Vietnam. We know what's happening. So I think there is a need for, there's lies, damn lies and statistics. We know that. And so I think there's a need for introspection. And I think the Vision Mumbai report really should be brought up for evaluation. 10 years, we said by 2013, Mumbai will be a world-class city. If you ask anybody, quality of life is like people are willing to move away from Mumbai. It's only because you don't have any alternative in India that people stay back in Mumbai. Thank you.
Right. No, fair enough. I think that definitely many of the quality of life indicators have deteriorated, and that is a continuous push. I was referring to the infrastructure projects, the large infrastructure projects that we had recommended, and that's where I think our sense was 70% got implemented. Yeah, thanks.
Hello, sir. Thank you for enumerating wonderful ideas. It is said that America is rich. America is rich, so there is a infrastructure. It is the other way around. There is a wonderful infrastructure. That is why America is rich. So your good self has outlined a wonderful, ambitious, and highlighted the nuances. What is your personal perspective when this will be implemented, the progress the Mumbai will have, and everybody's dream? What is your good self perspective?
Very large infrastructure projects is definitely at the base of it, but there is more than that. As I said, the quality of life, the last 10% investments that have to get done, need to get done. Okay, so there are many things to do, and I hope that in the next 7 to 10 years, we continue to focus on it. Yeah.
So we'll wrap up the questions now. I'm sorry, we can take the conversation outside during tea. And so please stay back.
This is just a report. Obviously, people that have to do this, okay, and one of the very senior most officers is in the room, okay. So some of these questions should be perhaps directed towards them as well, not just to the author of the report.